Actually, I had a really early introduction to the power of visualization, and it came from when I was just 10 years old, because I used to get really bad migraine headaches when I was 10. Nothing I did would make them go away. I'd have to sit I'd be nauseous. I'd have to sit in the dark for hours. And then one day, my father, who was a dentist and used visualization for pain management for his clients and his patients, took me through this guided visualization. And when we finished the visualization, my headache was gone. And that was the first time that I'd ever been able to cure my headaches. And so I started doing that exact same visualization myself, and I got really better and better at it, to the point where the second I felt a migraine coming on, I could make it go away. And then when I was a little bit older, I used visualization to break a smoking addiction. And I just imagined having a puff of a cigarette and imagining the tar going into my tongue and my lungs and just spitting it out and being disgusted, to the point where I couldn't touch the cigarette anymore. So I used visualization in a very early age. And so that when I applied it, and I used it in business also, I was working on Wall Street, and that was very successful too. And so when I applied it to weight loss, it was just a natural. It just clicked. And I had that foundation. But what I found once I started teaching other people visualizations, they didn't have that same foundation, and that's why I made that visualization CD, and I've since made a few other visualization CDs.
I think that's great that you provide them with a book. I think that's fantastic. You must be getting all kinds of feedback from it. I haven't tried it yet, but it sounds like it's amazing.
Oh, the visualization CD.
No, I haven't tried it yet.
You haven't listened? I really recommend it. I've gotten people that have had sleeping problems or are sleeping well, people that had drinking and drug problems or not, that don't have problems aren't addicted anymore to alcohol and drugs. It's a lot of different things have come out of that CD. I'm actually going to make one this week for kids.
That would be fantastic. A couple of months ago, I interviewed Dr. Roberta Thames, who's a world-renowned hypnotist and hypnotherapist. And one of the things that was very interesting about her, of the many, was I said to her, what about people who smoke? How long does it take you to make sure they don't smoke anymore? And she says, an hour. 1 hour, and they're done.
That's believable.
That is the most amazing thing. She's been doing this for, I don't know, over 30 years. But if that is doable, that really means that we are constantly available to subconscious impression, and hypnosis is going on more than we actually think it's going on in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah, no, and the beauty is, when you practice visualization, you get better and better at it, and then you can apply it to other areas of your life. And then you've got this powerful tool. You've lost weight, you're healthy, and you've got this incredibly powerful tool that you could use when if you want to create a business. You can imagine it, spreading all over the world, or you're going into a business meeting or an interview, and you can visualize it going well, and you'll find a direct correlation between
what you imagine,
days that you do practice those visualizations, and how successful the outcome is of whatever the endeavor is that you're working on. So it gives you. You walk away with a very powerful tool that you can use in so many different areas.
What has been the toughest question that you've been asked so far in radio and television interviews or discussions? What has been the most difficult, complex, for you, question?
I understand. I don't have anything off the top of my head. I'm trying to think, because usually, when someone asks me, it's just whatever comes out comes out. So I can't really think of anything.
Okay. You talk about this smart mode in the book, getting the body to move into this smart mode.
Uh-huh.
Explain what the smart mode is. And, of course, the people that buy the book will read the whole thing. But explain what a smart mode is. Smart mode,
SMART, is an acronym for Super Mental Alert Re-Education Training Technique. And what that is it's a state of consciousness that we're in when our brains are very receptive and very powerful. Our concentration and focus increases. The actual power of your brain that you're generating increases tremendously. And the impressions that you get, you learn much quicker. And this is the state that kids are in normally when they're most of the time, which is why they're so impressionable and why they can learn so well. And what consciousness researchers call the alpha and theta state of consciousness. And can get into that state of consciousness through certain exercises like meditation that I talk about in the book, or by listening to the CD, because it's got a music that puts you into that state. But when you're in that state, you're much calmer, so you're able to create a visualization much more clear, with much more focus, and you're much more powerful and much more impressionable, so the visualization can work much easier. And one example I use is like if you look at the mind, if you were looking in a pool of water, and if the pool of water was our mind. Now, normally when we're in our normal state of consciousness, which is the beta state of consciousness, we're looking, we're thinking, we're acting, we're worrying, we're taking in all this stuff, and it's like waves in the water. You know, so you try to look at your reflection in the water when it's got all those waves and you can't see it. But if the water is perfectly calm and you look at yourself, you can see a very clear reflection. So it's a little bit like when you're in that state, your mind is perfectly calm, and that enables you to create a vision that your subconscious really understands. And then you have a kind of a way to really communicate with your subconscious much better. So it's just a tool. In the book, really, there's really two concepts in the book. The first is the principles of losing weight by getting your body to want to be thin rather than force, and then there's the application. And in the application, there's visualization, there's getting into smart mode and practicing visualization, there's adding more foods, nutritious foods, there's drinking more water, there's all those type of things. But not everything applies to every one person as far as the application. Like, for example, one person I spoke to, I could tell he had sleep apnea just by the way he was breathing. We were just talking on the phone, and he was talking to me about his diet and this and that. I said, I don't want to talk about any of that stuff. You've got to get tested for sleep apnea. And sleep apnea, by the way, elevates your cortisol level, so it activates the fat program. So he got tested for sleep apnea, and he lost maybe 20 pounds in a matter of weeks, and went on to lose a total of 80 or 90 pounds. And that was his issue. And for some people, it might be 10% of the issue, or for him, it was 90% of the issue. So he didn't have to do all these other things. For someone else, it might be because they had some sort of traumatic, stressful experience as a child that's causing their body to want to hold on to weight and use weight as a form of protection and a reaction to that stress. Then that has to be addressed. So whatever the issue is for you, that's really where you have to focus. And once you do, then your set point shifts. So it's in a sense, the principles apply to everyone, but the application is not necessarily a one-size-fits-all type of thing.
Have you found that you are being welcomed by many medical practitioners, doctors from different parts of the world?
I think that was the biggest shocker for me, was how receptive the medical community was to, because I really thought they were going to hold on to this calories in, calories out. But what I'm learning is they've got it too. They're sick of telling people eat less, and having no results. And so I've given talks now to the American Holistic Medical Association, to the Australian Traditional Medical Association. I'm going up next weekend to talk to a group of integrative medical doctors. There was a MD at the University of Idaho, Dr. Gene Bokelman, who gave a presentation to the faculty and staff of the medical school at the University of Idaho called the Gabriel Method of Weight Reduction.
Wow!
So, and that really blew my mind. But there's been, I get all the time, I get referrals. People call me and say my doctor referred, or or when I'm at seminars, people come up to me and say, I lost weight, I lost 30 pounds, and I say, where'd you find the book? And I say, my doctor gave it to me. And so it's sort of bridged the gap, I think, between the old traditional medical paradigm and the more integral, holistic approach of weight loss. So that's been, to me, the biggest shocker.
If there's been any people in any of the professions, medically or otherwise, that have been threatened by your paradigm, if you will, who might that be? Or who has that been?
I haven't had any of that to my face, but I heard that a guy that I work with in Sydney went to a convention where one of the guys who was in The Biggest Loser was there, and he went up to them and he said, "Well, what about the Gabriel Method?" And in the meantime, according to this guy was giving instruction, and apparently, as you hear all the time with these types of biggest